Welcome back, my Duelist friends. Casual Duelist here. And time for another haunted deck profile. Now, again, this one's a little bit more casual. I do think this one has some more rogue opportunity, but I didn't get enough time to playtest this one as much as I would like or as much as I normally do. So, guys, if you have any hints or tips on how I can make this better the next time around, let me know now. And I'm going to thank you ahead of time for doing that because you guys have always been great and super supportive. So I know somebody's going to come up with something that's just going to blow my mind and I'm going to be like, oh yeah, I should have done that. And it'll be super obvious. But real quick, let's hype up the deck a little bit. This is Frightfur. So what is Frightfur? Frightfur is like one of the few decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! That actually uses 3 different archetypes to play the deck. And not 3 different archetypes like the 6 Samurai, where you have the 6 Samurai, you have the legendary 6 Samurai, and then you have the secret 6 Samurai. Literally, we use Edge Imps, Fluffles, and then the fusions are the Frightfurs. So it's very cool. It's mostly fusion-based. I do run a few links in this build. Again, this is supposed to be the nice, fun, casual. I wouldn't say budget. I don't think this is anywhere close to being a budget deck. But that is what it is. So let's go ahead and get you guys a deck profile. And then tomorrow I'm going to do, instead of just doing test hands, I think I'm going to drop the test hands because, again, I didn't play this enough to really find an end game, like an end board state that I was, totally in love with. So instead, we will just talk over, like, lightly, just a strategy conversation. Again, real quick, 40-card deck. Let's get you guys a list. So we're going to start this off by running 3 copies of the Edge Imp Chain. Again, looks kind of scary. That's awesome. We got 2 copies Edge Imp Sabers, and I do want you guys to take a note that the one on the right is the Lost Art. And what Konami told us here is you can't have a murderous gleam on a pair of scissors. Instead, you got to make them like laser scissors, which is kind of what's happening here, which to me is a little more intimidating. I don't know. Run 2 of those, and I'm running a single copy of the Edge Imp Scythe. So that's going to be our 6 Edge Imps for this deck. The rest is all going to be Fluffles. Today we're going to be running 3 copies of Bear, and Bear is actually going to help us do a lot of things. We are going to run a single copy of Cat, 2-3 copies of Dog. We are going to be running Double Dolphin. We're going to run single Octopus. Oh, look at how adorable that is. We're going to have 2 copies of Fluffle Owl. We are going to triple out maximize our Fluffle Penguin. We are going to have the single Sheep. And we're going to go out with 3 copies Fluffle Wings. And then over to our spells, no traps. We are going to use 2 copies Frightfur Fusion. I don't know what I was thinking about. I was thinking about the polymerization. You're going to use 2 of this. And this is sort of going to be like Miracle Fusion for Heroes. And this is how we're going to like develop into Nightmare. So that's kind of cool. We are going to run 3 copies Patchwork. Kind of a great card. We have the single Frightfur Reborn, 1 copy Repair, 1 copy Monster Reborn. We're going to use 3 copies Polymerization. Again, this is very fusion-based, and I didn't pull out my fancy ones. I just pulled out some Speed Duel ones because they were sitting on the counter real quick. So I do apologize for the lack of shiny and alternate art, but they all play the same, so there's that. 1 copy of Suture Rebirth, and then going to end out the 40-card build with 3 copies of Toy Vendor. This is very lightly modified. The only thing I really did to modify this is one of the pickup decks from the loot reports. I actually traded out the fusion deployments for polymerizations. This was originally a 43-card deck, and I did let him keep his polymerizations because they were the alternate art. So I didn't want to run 43, so I ran 40. Again, big thanks to you, Drake. I'm not sure that you're going to be watching this, but thank you so much. And then we're going to go over to our extra deck. We're going to be running 2 copies Dangerous Frightfur Nightmare. Sort of like a Persona Blast type. When we go to use one effect, it just gives us like a free space to do that. We're going to be using 2 copies Frightfur Cruel Whale. That's awesome. We're going to use a single copy of Daredevil, a single copy of Kraken. I would play a second if I had one because he's actually really good. We got 2 Sabretooth. Awesome art. I mean, when you're looking at these guys, you can't help but to get like strong, Five Nights at Freddie's vibes. So like very cool. We got the 1 sheep again, just because like look at it. I mean, obviously you have to play that. And then one copy of Tiger. I think Tiger actually has to be in the build, otherwise the build isn't good. You could maximize that up to 2. I don't think I'd go as far as adding 3, depending on like what your budget's looking like and how many of these you may already have. We are going to use, for the links, we get the 1 copy of Cross Sheep, and of course I had to put that new Megatin Secret Rare in here because I just think it looks great. And then again, these are spots that you guys can change. I'm just using a basic Nightmare package with IP Masquerena, just to round that out to 15. So again, if you've got more fusions, maybe you want to have another Kraken in there. Maybe you want to have another Tiger in there. That's all fine. You guys, this is just a guideline. I hope that you guys enjoy these kind of things, but never feel bad if you improve on the recipe that you find here. So for everybody who just came by for the deck list, again, I'd like to thank you for stopping by and checking us out with us again today. If you'd like to support the channel, if this helped you, if this was enjoyable, if you'd like to see more stuff like this, just go ahead and hit subscribe if you haven't already. It's just the easiest way to support us and let us grow. Additionally, you can let your friends know. That's awesome too. But most importantly, for those of you that this is all that you wanted, have a great day. I'll see you guys later. I'm sure you're going to come back. We do have Cyber Strike coming out, I believe, next week. So, like, that's going to be like a whole week thing. Like, I'm going to have to take a week off of the actual Spooktober stuff and dive straight into the Cyber Strike structure deck because that's just going to be awesome. So class is dismissed for you guys. Everybody else, maybe you guys don't know what these do. Let's go ahead and let's talk through the list while everybody else has a good day. So real quick, we're going to start off with our main deck again. So we're going to talk about the Edge Imp Chain. When this declares an attack, you can add an Edge Imp Chain from deck to the hand. So again, you can add back to your hand. It's not terribly strong. It's only 12 by 18. That's still okay though. If this card is sent from the hand or the field to the graveyard, and again, we can do this when we link or fuse, you can add 1 Frightfur card from your deck to your hand. You can only use 1 Edge Imp Chain effect per turn and only once that turn. So it's an either or, very much like Shaddoll's and stuff like that. Or I think Thunder Dragons are like that as well. We predominantly want to use the secondary effect. It is the better effect, and since it does say Frightfur card instead of Frightfur monster, Frightfur spell, Frightfur trap, it's anything with Frightfur. So it's just the best. So again, that's why we maximized to 3 there. Sabers, a little 3-star, also at 1200. If this is in the graveyard, you can place 1 card from your hand to the top of your deck. Special summon this back in defense position. You can only use this effect once per turn. Again, we wanted 2, so we saw it, but we didn't want 3 because it's only once per turn anyway. So again, once we get it in there, it's fine. And then if we use the Frightfur Fusion and we have to banish, we still have this secondary copy to just keep going into the strategy. So 2 was my favorite number. I think it's the best number. You guys can argue with me about that down in the comment section if you like. But yeah, very cool. And then 1 copy of Imp Scythe. And again, I kind of wanted to have another copy of this in here. I just couldn't find the room myself. During the opponent's main phase, as a quick effect, you reveal this card in your hand, and then fusion summon a Frightfur Fusion monster from your extra deck. Using monsters from the hand and field as material, including this card. So it is the full-on Catalyst, and it's essentially a hand trap fusion, which is kind of amazing. So if a Frightfur Fusion monsters you control will be destroyed by battle or card effect, you banish this from the graveyard instead. Use each effect once per turn, which actually means we could set up the fusion on our opponent's turn. Maybe we go into Nightmare because we want to use the negate effect, or we do something else, whatever. And then we also have that built-in protection now for our Frightfur Fusion monster. So it's very dual purpose, and one feeds straight into the other. Again, I wanted to fit a second one in here. I just couldn't find the space, guys. Let me know if you found a spot for me to do that. We did maximize out on Fluffle Bear because I love bears, and this dude is just sickeningly sweet. Just look at him. He's pink. He kind of wants to be a Pokemon. I'm forgetting the name of the Pokemon that is a giant pink bear. Whatever. The effect here, you can send this card from the hand to the graveyard. Set 1 toy vendor directly from your deck into the spell trap zone. So again, it's sort of like a tutoring effect, which is great for starting effects. We can additionally, as it's a monster, we contribute this card, target 1 polymerization in the graveyard and recycle that back to our hand. You can only use 1 effect per turn and only once that turn, which is, again, fine. And again, he's kind of cool. He's kind of cute. The single cat, if this is sent to the graveyard as fusion material for a fusion summon, and again, that could be from the hand or the field, but since it's not a send, we can't bank off of it for links, so that's why there's no like Link Karibo or Relinquished Anima. You can target a polymerization in your graveyard and again add that back to your hand. So that is fine. We could immediately fuse and then again fuse again. Again, this is only a once per turn effect. It's a hard once per turn, and one does the trick. We do have the 3 copies of Dog. When this is normal or a special summon from the hand, you can add 1 Edgem Sabers. Again, that's going to be our dude that's just going to keep recycling from the discard pile. Or 1 Fluffle monster from your deck to your hand, except Dog. You can only use this effect once per turn. So again, if we pull Dog, we can pull Dog, grab Bear, discard Bear, grab Toy Vendor, set the Toy Vendor, and then flip and go into effects. So there is some cool setups and a lot of things that just chain into each other. We do have the Dolphins. You can target 1 Toy Vendor in your graveyard, set it, and if you do, send 1 Fluffle or Edgem Sabers from deck to the graveyard. And again, with Sabers, this is a great way to get it into the discard pile, just right off the rip. If this is sent to the graveyard as fusion material for a fusion summon, you can shuffle into the deck 1 of your fusion spells or polymerization spells that is banished or in the discard pile. Use each effect only once per turn. And again, this will allow you to just do way more fusing. And again, since it's not as important, 2 is a good ratio there. Fluffle Octopus. When this is normal or special summoned, you can target 1 Fluffle or Edgem monster in the graveyard and add that to your hand, which again, just amazing how it's just indiscriminate with what it'll allow you. If this card is sent to the graveyard as fusion material for a fusion summon of a Frightfur fusion monster, you can target up to 2 of your banished monsters and return them to the graveyard. You can only use each effect of this once per turn. And again, since we can do both effects in the same turn, this is another way if we had to banish that Sabers, we can go ahead and we can put Sabers back in the discard pile real quick off the single Octopus. I didn't find myself needing more than 1, so again, personal choice. If you like it more, then play it more. We do have Owl, and it did bother me a little bit that they were just 2 different rarities, but it is what it is, guys. When this is normal or special summon from the hand, you can add 1 polymerization from deck to hand, so again, this is really good. You can also pay 500 life points, fusion summon 1 Frightfur fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand field as materials. You can only use 1 Owl effect per turn and only once that turn, so either he's going to be the catalyst and be the polymerization, or he's going to get you the polymerization. So very good. We do have Penguin. We ran him at 3, and it's not just because he's adorable, because he is, but it's not the only reason. During the main phase, you could special summon 1 Fluffle monster from your hand except Penguin. So again, we could play him to just get another character and then start going off effects there. This effect can only be used once while this card is face up on the field. So again, if this was turned face down somehow, maybe you used Book of Eclipse for some reason, you could again use it again. That was too many uses of the word again. I apologize. If this card is sent to the graveyard as fusion material for a fusion summon of a Frightfur fusion monster, you can draw 2 cards and discard 1. This is the main reason that my dude is in here. However, the special summoning is a good extension to start a good play. So, going back to the starters and extenders video, he's kind of both. It really just depends on the moment. We do have the 1 Sheep. If you control a Fluffle monster except Sheep, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can return 1 other Fluffle monster you control to the hand, special summon 1 Edge Imp from the hand or graveyard. You can only use this effect once per turn. Again, this is going to help us get into Cross Sheep very easily, just as an extra quick summon. So again, you could go into the Penguin, grab somebody else, and then extend with Sheep. It's full of good moves. And then we're going to have the 3 copies of Wings. If this card is in the graveyard and you control Toy Vendor, which again we should, you can banish this card from the graveyard, target 1 Fluffle monster in the graveyard, banish it, and if you do, draw 1 card. Then you can send 1 Toy Vendor you control to the graveyard, and if you do that, you could draw 1 card. So this is up to a draw 2, but you can stop at a draw 1 if you like. You can only use this effect once per turn. So again, that's a little bit about adding cards to the hand. And just kind of playing, and again, I just played this for fun. We got the 2 fusions, the Frightfur fusions. Fusion summon a Frightfur fusion monster from the extra deck by banishing fusion materials listed from field or graveyard. Only activate 1 of these per turn. Again, this reminds me so much of Miracle Fusion for the elemental heroes. 2 is a good number, especially since we can recycle. We do have the 3 copies Frightfur Patchwork. Add 1 Edge Imp monster and 1 polymerization from deck to hand. You can only use 1 of these per turn. And again, this is a great way that you just want to set up with sabers. Go into one of your fusions real quick. This card's going to give you both of those. And then Sabers is going to be able to start coming back to the field whenever you need it to. We do have the single Frightfur Reborn. Target a Frightfur monster in your graveyard. Special summon it during the main phase, except the turn this was sent to the graveyard. You can banish this card from the graveyard. Then target one of your banished Fluffle or Frightfurs. Return it to the graveyard. Again, we only ran 1 of this because this is really just to bring back the fusions. And I don't know, that it's generically good, but I didn't want to put too much space on it. We weren't linking enough to put in like World Legacy Succession. So a single of this and Monster Reborn really did a treat. We do have the Frightfur Repair. Target a Frightfur fusion in the graveyard, return it to the extra deck. Then you can special summon 1 Fluffle or Edge Imp from the graveyard. You can banish this from your graveyard, special summon a Fluffle or Edge Imp from your hand. You can only use 1 effect per turn and only 1 set turn, and that's for good reason, because this would be very broken if we could do both of those rapidly. But again, when we use Nightmare's effect, I think that you guys are going to see like this is very cool because we'll be able to reload the extra deck. Outside of that, maybe put Pot of Avarice if you end up like maining Nightmare too much. You do have the Monster Reborn, just generic. Target a monster and bring it back. Polymerization, very generic. Special summon a fusion monster using cards from hand and field as material. At 3. Suture Rebirth. Target 1 Fluffle or Frightfur in the graveyard. Special summon it with its effects negated. You can only activate 1 of these per turn. Again, this gives us 3 different reborning spells that we can activate all on the same turn if we have the opportunity without it cross-interacting with each other. So again, I felt like that was the best move there. And then we have the 3 copies of Toy Vendor. And this was very cool. It's a continuous spell. Once per turn, you can discard a card, draw a card, and then show it. If it is a Fluffle, you can special summon 1 monster from your hand. Otherwise, discard the card you drew. If this is sent to the graveyard, you could add 1 Edge Imp Sabers or Fluffle from the deck to the hand. So again, we can we can get Sabers to our hand real quick. We're going to be able to do this when it is sent to the graveyard off of, I want to say it was it Penguin? I want to say it was Penguin. Nope, it was Wings. So Wings can send the Toy Vendor and give us a possible draw 2 and then add 1 additionally. So again, it's very compounded with the interactions, and it is fun. And this is also another way to try to spam and maybe cause a link climb. Link climbing is not very easy to do in this build. And that's probably just entirely on my card choices today. But it is what it is, and that's why I went very light on the links. So let's go into our extra deck. Let's check those out. So we do have the Dangerous Frightfur Nightmare. This is 1 Edge Imp monster plus 2 Fluffles. Again, using the Frightfur Fusion and banishing everything is probably going to be your best bet. This gains 300 attack for every fairy and fiend in your graveyard. So again, the later in the game you play this, the stronger it's going to be. And it only gains that power during your own turn. So during your opponent's turn, it reverts to being a 2k by 3k. When this fusion summoned card destroys a monster by battle, you can send a Frightfur, Fluffle, or Edge Imp monster from the deck to the graveyard. Monsters to the from the deck to the graveyard equal to the original level of the destroyed monster. And again, I guess that's in case you wanted to use another Frightfur fusion and really start slamming out your fusions. The effect I use, when your opponent activates a card or effect that targets this card on the field, quick effect, banish a Frightfur monster from the extra deck to negate. And again, this is why I run 2. It's a free space for me to just have the 1 negate, and that's why some of them were ran at 2, just to give me some options. We do have the Cruel Whale, which is 1 Edge Imp plus 1 Fluffle, and this gives us a 26 by 24, so that's a huge power bonus real quick. If this is Fusion Summoned, you can destroy 1 card on both players' fields. Again, we could take out our own Toy Vendor and then add other cards to our hand. You can target once per turn as a quick effect, you can target one fusion monster you control, send one Frightfur from the deck to the extra deck to the graveyard except Whale, and if you do, the targeted monster gains attack equal to half the original attack until the end of the turn. So again, if we send that Night Mary, we can gain 1,000, bring this guy up to 36. Very cool. We do have Daredevil. He was a little weird. It's an edge imp plus a Fluffle. He's going to be 3k by 22, so he's a little more beat sticky. When this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can inflict 1,000 damage to the opponent, which is also very cool. If this face-up card is destroyed by battle or leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect while under its owner's control, you can inflict 500 damage to your opponent for every Frightfur in your graveyard. You can only activate this effect once per turn. So again, he's very cool. He's got the Pitchfork of Doom. He's going to get in there. He's going to stab up a monster real quick, pop it. If it was in attack mode, you take regular battle damage, plus you take the 1,000. And then if you do board wipe me and you do that, for every Frightfur that's already in the discard pile, you're going to take additional damage. So he's very cool, but he's not worth centering around, so I only ran the one. We do have Kraken again. I wished I had another Kraken. It's Edge Imp Monster plus Fluffle. So again, everything's very generic in here. Once per turn, you can target one monster the opponent controls, send it to the graveyard, which is kind of amazing. This card cannot attack directly the turn this effect is activated. However, this means this card can still attack a monster. So really think about that, and remember that links can only exist in attack mode. So Kraken, pretty good. This card can make a second attack. This card can make a second attack during each battle phase. So again, we can slash up to 2 monsters plus sending one. Once per turn and at the end of the battle phase, if this card battled, you can change this to defense. And again, it's going to rest way better in defense at the 3k than it's 2,200. So Kraken is definitely something I would have added additional. I probably would have thrown out the Daredevil for this, or probably Cerberus, if we're being real. I did run the 2 Sabertooths. What does he do? He is one Frightfur fusion monster plus one or more Fluffle and or Edge Imps. So again, once you start throwing things into the discard pile, if you're doing that, the Frightfur fusion actually helps out real well here, or you want to go off of something else and then reborn back what you used to make this. When this is fusion summoned, you can target one Frightfur monster in the graveyard, special summon it. So again, we can get back our fusion monster right away during this effect as well. All Frightfur monsters you control gain 400 attack. If this card was fusion summoned using 3 or more fusion materials, it cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. This is kind of a boss level card, but it's a little weaker on the attack. Still worth playing, and again, I played 2. We do have the Frightfur Sheep. It's a little 5-star. This one actually needs it to be Edge Imp Chain, so this one's a little more specific, but again, we run 3 copies of Chain, which is fine. If this card battles, your opponent's cards and effects cannot be activated until the end of the damage step, very much like Utopia Lightning, so that's very cool. If this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, or if this card in your possession is destroyed by an opponent's card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon this card, and if you do, it gains 800 attack. You can only use this effect once per turn. So again, what we can do real quick is we can run it into something, bring it back, and then run it right back into it to actually take something out that was just under 800 points stronger. So sometimes taking damage is worth it, and I thought this thing just looked warped, so it had to be in the deck. We do have the Frightfur Tiger. This is the other specific one. This one requires sabers. Again, we only run 2 sabers. Plus 1 or more Fluffle monsters, your choice. When this is fusion summoned, you can target cards on the field up to the number of fusion materials used to fusion summon this. Destroy them. This would actually be another card that, like, additionally, if I had a 3rd Sabers, I would play a 2nd copy of this. Destroy them. Okay, all Frightfur monsters you control gain 300 attack for every Fluffle and Frightfur you control. You can only control one of these at a time. So again, it has its bit. And for those of you like 80s and 90s kids out there, does this remind you of Calvin and Hobbes? Kind of reminds me of Calvin and Hobbes. Going over to the links, this is probably the quickest portion of it. We got the Cross Sheep, 2 monsters, different names. If a monster special summoned to a zone, this points to apply the following effects in sequence based on the card types that they point to. We're only worried about the fusion, which is going to be special summon a level 4 or lower monster back from the graveyard. We're not doing any of the other stuff, so that's the only one we need to know. Again, we can do this to link build, we can do this to fuse, you pick. We do have the Masquerena. This will allow us to do this during our opponent's turn. It just requires 2 non-links. We can go ahead and link during their turn. And then again, the link monster that uses this as material cannot be destroyed by opponent card effects, so it's going to give us a little stability. And then we're going to use the Nightmares. So we're going to have the Cerberus to discard card, pop special summon monster, Phoenix for the spell Trap on a discard, and Unicorn to just toss one back into their deck, again on a discard. And again, this can help you set up that Edge Sabers. I was very, very tempted to play the Cross Sheep, the IP, maybe the Phoenix, and then put in a Boral Sword instead of the Cerb. But this is what I came up with, and I hope that you guys enjoyed it. And again, look out tomorrow. I'm not going to do test hands. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just show you some of the walkthrough of like the effects and how they'll chain. Again, I just didn't get enough time to play test this as much as I would have liked, enough to be more fluent with it. So I do hope that you guys enjoyed. And again, just the one favor, guys, try to have a great day. Go out and do something for some self-care. And I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.